Welcome back to the Horn Takes podcast. My name is Sean Redfern, and this is The Bullpen, the internet show all about Texas baseball. Joining me, as always, we got our man Mark Pena from Occupy Left Field. We got our guy Zach Sim from OrangeBloods.com. It's been a couple of weeks, gentlemen. How are we doing? I know you guys didn't like the outcome out in Omaha, but I bet y'all had an absolute blast in Omaha for a few days. How are we doing, guys?
Finally recovered, man. But yeah, thankful for the trip. It was a really fun one. We had a great time out there. A lot of Texas fans, a lot of crew from the left field group. So it was a hell of a time, man. We really enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah, I'm disappointed I was not able to be there. I enjoy going, man. I enjoy going to Omaha so much, and we had grandparent duty stuff, man. We had to do a baby shower thing, so I couldn't make it out. But as they always say, there's always next year, right? We'll see how that works out. We're going to talk a whole lot of baseball tonight. There's a ton of stuff to talk about. I had Harge on last week. We talked a little bit about the College World Series, a little bit about some of the transfer stuff that had already happened. Not a whole lot, because not a whole lot had happened at that point. But we'll certainly dive into that stuff tonight. Before we get too far into the show tonight, we have to give a shout out to the ladies, and we're way late on this, but the ladies are back-to-back national champions in softball. So congratulations, ladies. A lot of those ladies have already moved on. They're already playing professional softball. How cool is that? That's pretty neat. The little league is busted up, and I don't know, there's like, 5-6 teams in that little softball league now. You can watch them on ESPN. I actually have. Man, if you enjoyed watching the ladies out in Oklahoma City, and I'm talking about all the ladies, a lot of those ladies you watched are playing pro baseball right now. So kudos to the ladies. Also, our friends over at ChinookSeedery.com make a really great bag of seeds, 9 different flavors, all delicious. You can use our promo code HornTakes, get 10% off your order there. All right, guys, let's just dive right in, because there really is a whole lot to talk about. There's been a lot of just baseball news besides Texas baseball news and besides College World Series, and I hope we can touch on a little bit of all of it. Join us in the chat, folks. If you guys are watching right now, give us your questions, comments. We love to interact with you guys, answer questions. But let's go back to the College World Series. Let's recap that one a little bit. We don't have to get too far into the details. We all saw it. You guys experienced it there in Omaha. But to me, I thought the pitching was really, really good. Pretty much the whole weekend. I think there was one team that gave up less runs than us through 3 games in Omaha, and that team was Oklahoma, that went on to win the national championship this year. So I thought the pitching was outstanding. I thought the offense was there in spurts, especially against Alabama. But kind of what we talked about most of the season was we felt like if this team ran into a wall, that's what it was going to be. It was going to be sort of those inconsistencies on offense. Zach, talk to us about it. I know that kid from I know that kid from Georgia, Volchik, whatever his name is. Man, he ripped it up. No doubt that kid was on fire.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about it.
He had a career night. He was throwing stuff that he had never thrown in his career. Obviously, there's a lot of national writers there. It wasn't your typical, beat writers and whatever else covering Texas. And, I know a lot of those guys got a chance to sit down and talk to them, and all of them were, to a person, shocked at the kind of performance he put in. The spin rates were up. No walks other than, I think, 1, right? The command was just pinpoint.
He couldn't miss. I mean, it was like fastball, pam, strike, and then he was ripping off that slider right, and ripping that slider off where it was coming in right like the fastball, and I could see it really well on the TV. It's probably harder in different parts of the stadium. I mean, he was dialed in. It was a beautiful thing to watch, except it was happening to my team.
Yeah, we got a chance to watch some video and talk to some of the players, obviously, after the game. And we asked him what was so difficult. And there was a video later on social media that I saw where the ball was being released, and it was literally in the stands. I mean, you were it was away from the batter's eye. And granted, I think the batter eye there is very small, but yeah, there was no visibility on that ball whatsoever. And so you run into those kind of things, right? And Dylan Volantis, he wasn't sharp in that first or second inning. I think it was the first inning, but after that, he gave Texas everything they needed, and it's just the way things.
Yeah, it was kind of unfortunate deal. I mean, he gets 2 strikeouts in the first that we can't convert on the throws down to first. There was a few hit batsmen for Dylan in that game, which is something that he hasn't really done a whole lot in his career. I think he had 4.
He hit 4 batters in that game. Coming into that game all season, he had hit 7. So
okay, yeah. So I mean, kind of an uncharacteristic night, but as you said, he kind of settled in after that first inning. He gave up a home run on a man. What can you do? I mean, the kid put a good swing on the ball and it hit a foot up the foul pole in left field. Like just kind of one of those, man, if that would have been 6 inches the other way, we're in good shape still type of deal. So and honestly, getting down against that team was tough early, 4-0. And it just almost seemed like as innings went on, like it was going to take something. I mean, 4 runs felt impossible about midway through that game to me because we were just struggling so bad
early. They had him in the first inning and they let him go. And from that point on, he was on. I mean, that's the way it was. But there was 2 at-bats the entire game against Georgia in the first game and the third game. And they probably kind of sealed the deal. And both of them were hit less than 70 miles an hour, just flipped through, one to the right side on that Saturday night, and then on Monday, one through the left side, or during the week. So just way it goes.
Yeah. Talk to us, Mark, about the experience out in Omaha. And man, I haven't been in a few years. You haven't been in a few years either. Yeah. How much of it has changed in the last few years? I think the last time you were out there was what, 2022, 2021?
Yep.
Yeah. Has it changed much?
It really hasn't changed a ton. They still have most of the same establishments around there. One huge addition that we definitely took advantage of, I think we went there almost every day we were in Omaha. There's a new bar there called Let It Fly, which is a spectacular sports bar. It's almost like a mini Texas Live. If you've been to Arlington, just TVs everywhere, great wait staff, huge area. Texas fans kind of took that place over for the majority of the stay. But it was a fun week, man. And again, you guys are talking about, some of the things that went wrong and the overall outcome. But to me, man, just a hell of a season. I've been arguing with people on Twitter for a week now that I will never consider a season that ends in Omaha a failure. Sure, maybe we didn't go quite as far as we would have liked to gone, but I'm never going to say that being one of the last 5 teams playing in the country is a disappointment. They got to Omaha for the first time in 4 seasons. It was a hell of a fun season. Really proud of all of the guys, man. So many guys to shout out. Tenney and Robbins, just their 1 year here in Austin, what they were able to contribute. Some of the upperclassmen, Luke Harrison, all of those guys that just put everything they had into getting us back to Omaha, man. So just want to shout them out. Obviously we're never going to see that team play again, but they left it all out on the field. I'm glad they were able to rebound from the true disappointment of last year, right? Losing a home regional. And just, man, ending the season in Omaha, that's always a good thing to me. And I feel like the program is trending in the right direction. We're going where we need to go. And I think just setting that target of trying to get to Omaha every year, right? One of those years you're going to kick the door down. So just a fantastic year. Really fun time up in Omaha. We had a really good group. Like I said, you can never have a bad time there. So really hoping that we're able to do some reloading here in the next couple of weeks and get us back there next June.
Yeah, absolutely. You bring up a ton of good points. First of all, I saw a lot of the videos of you guys out at Let It Fly, and that place did look fantastic. So again, more just jealousy on my part for not being able to be there. How far is that place from the stadium? Is it like really close? Or
yeah, it's right in the central downtown area. It's probably about a 4-block walk. So it's
okay,
not
fair enough.
Far. Right there by the other sports bars like DJ's Dugout, Addie's. They're all kind of in the same area. So yeah, really close to the stadium.
Yeah, I know they took care of y'all. I kept seeing Cross say, "We're going back to Let It Fly. We're going back to Let It Fly. We're going back to Let It Fly." So I knew it must have been good. And then you mentioned like just like shout outs to some players.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to spend a lot of time talking about it, but I kind of wanted to just say, man, pitching was on this weekend.
Yeah.
Harrison was really good. Ruger was really good. Valanis, again, had his little moments, but for the most part, he was really good.
Yeah.
And he kind of got, he got snake bit on a couple of strikeouts, and that's just part of baseball. It happens. But overall, I thought the pitching was good enough for this team to keep advancing and winning, right?
Yeah.
But you mentioned a lot of the accolades, and you mentioned, man, I was just looking at this today. Like, these are just things I've rattled off the top of my, like, just came to my head. Back-to-back SEC Freshman of the Year, back-to-back National Stopper of the Year, National Freshman of the Year, Buster Posey semifinalist. I think Aiden Robbins was a Golden Spikes semifinalist. I know he was on like the watch list and all that stuff. Stopper of the Year, Gold Glove winner for Tenney. Like, there was just so many things that some of the guys on this team accomplished on an individual level. And I'm sure it's happened before at Texas baseball, but this was like just a banner year for like that type of stuff. And it's what's really exciting about it is a lot of those guys are coming back, and we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But man, I thought, just a lot of cool moments this year. And man, I don't know which one I think is the best, but there's been a ton of fun ones. You got to look. We will all look back at this College World Series and say that cycle for A-Rod was something that is just kind of an amazing thing. I didn't even realize it was happening until they started talking about on the broadcast about the the error. Like, oh, they scored that as an error. Why did they score that as an error? And I was just like, holy crap! Like, he did it for the cycle. Like, what's going on? And then I had no idea that only 2 other people had done that in the history of the College World Series, which is just like absolutely phenomenal. So tons of great moments this year, tons of individual accolades. And as you pointed out, Mark, like, we'll never get to see that particular team play again. And so it was truly a pleasure for me to be able to watch that team a lot this year in person, on TV, obviously. So yeah, kudos to those guys. And the other thing you mentioned, and I wanted to talk about this, I saw the banner. I saw, I get like fans get upset and they want to win, like, and it sucks when you don't win. So I kind of get like the 24-hour banner where everybody's like, just, oh, we suck. And, I get it. I get it, but I don't get it. But then like it did like bleed over for days where people were like, this is not a successful season. And I'm like, what? Like, you literally made it to, you were the final 8 teams in the country.
Final 5 teams.
Well, yeah, I mean, but fair, but you made it to Omaha, which is the final 8 teams, and you cannot win the national championship unless you make it to Omaha. And so, yeah, I mean, on one hand, yeah, great, we've made it 39 times. We've only won it 6, but man, how many opportunities have we had to play for it? I know we've played in the finals multiple times, and we just, so it's like you're willing to like not make it a bunch of times because you didn't win it a bunch. It just doesn't make sense.
And people need to realize it's not 2004 anymore, man. It's a completely different sport.
Oh,
now.
Yeah.
It's an arms race, just like every other sport. And you're not just going to cakewalk to Omaha, right? It's not easy like it used to be for some programs. I think I read a stat, Zach, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the last 2 seasons are the first time in College World Series history where there hasn't been a repeat team 2 years in a row. So we've had a brand new field of 8 now for 3 years in a row, which has never happened before. But that just illustrates how hard it is to get back there, right? And you look in the last 5 years, I think 4 of the national champions like didn't even make the postseason the next year. Like, that's how competitive and hard college baseball is now. Mississippi State wins it, doesn't make the tournament. Ole Miss wins it, doesn't make the tournament. LSU wins it, doesn't make the tournament. I mean, shit's crazy now, dude. It's not like it used to be where there's the same 6 teams every year and 2 other programs that sneak in there. So yeah, it's hard to get to Omaha, and it's going to be hard as hell to get there next year. So enjoy it when you do get there.
And the crazy thing is, Ole Miss won it in 2022. They were the last team in the tournament, like not just figuratively, literally the last team picked.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma was a team that lost 4 series in a row going into the tournament, right? And then they were one and done. Yeah, they were one and done in Hoover. And it was like, oh my gosh. And I think Coach Schlossnagle has talked about this, but probably a lot of other coaches. It's not always about who the best team is. It's who's the hottest at the right time. And
100%.
they were on a tear,
100%.
and that shit happens, man. I mean, it could have easily been Texas or anyone else. Like, they had all the talent. It's just you have.
I mean, you look at Georgia, who I don't think there's a lot of people would argue was not the best offense all season long in college baseball.
Yeah.
They went to freaking sleep in Omaha. Even the games they beat us, they didn't score a lot of runs, and the ones they got against us were kind of cheap ones. It wasn't like they were banging the ball all over the ballpark against us. So 100%, and we've talked about that a ton the last 2 years we've been doing this show. It's about getting there, but it's about being hot when you get there. And I can't think of another time where I've seen a team like that get that hot. I mean, I tweeted it out on, what was it, Sunday, I think, game 2, early in the game, before Glauber came in and just completely shut them down. Like, it was like they were hitting beach balls.
Yeah.
The pitcher was throwing them a beach ball. They could not miss the ball. They were seeing everything. They were barreling up everything. And I'm not trying to take credit away from Oklahoma. They are definitely a talented team. Obviously, they're a talented team. But they 100% got hot. I saw some other guys talking about, did they really get hot, or did they finally just meet their potential? They 100% got hot. Like the biggest heater like you will ever see in college baseball. And again, they won the College World Series. I'm not trying to take away from them doing that. They made the swings, they hit the balls, they made the plays. The pitchers became like unhittable in a lot of cases when they weren't like that all year. And so, yeah, man, that whole bunch got hot at the right time. And so, to your point, Mark, getting there over and over again is probably going to be tough anyway. Yeah. But then when you get there, it's going to be really tough because you're going to kind of have to get on a heater. Someone is going to, maybe a couple of someones are going to, and it's kind of going to be who can do it the longest, I think.
Yeah. If you get to Omaha and you're on a side with 3 other SEC teams, good luck, man. There's going to be some.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, you're in a tough spot. So, but yeah, I thought the season was outstanding. We talked about this, I think, the very first time we had this show 2 years ago, because there was a whole lot of talk because Sloss was here, and there was a whole lot of talk about Texas has got to at least get to the super regionals, or this first season is a failure. And I was like, wait a second. Like, this is a brand new team. Yeah. This is it's a new coaching staff. Like, there's a, like you can't just say that, because again, that's not easy. 16 teams make it to the super regionals every year. So, but I certainly say, if you're making the tournament every year and you're putting yourself in a good position to get to a super regional, I think you can say that's, when you get to a super regional, that's successful in today's baseball, especially if you can do it consistently.
Yeah. I'm not leaving a very thick line here, but I think for Texas, right, I'm not going to backpedal too much. I'm going to say if you get to Omaha, it's a successful season. But that's still the expectation at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying we should say that the goal of a season is to make the super regionals. Now that Schloss is kind of entrenched, has his guys coming in, everybody's going to expect him in Omaha every year. Obviously, it's not going to happen, right? But more times than not, we hope. But once you get there, man, you can't be saying the season was a failure. That's the goal. If you hit that goal, you hit the goal, and you just kind of see what happens when you get there.
Absolutely. So yeah, good season, boys. Good season, coaching staff. Obviously a disappointing end because I felt like Texas was one of those teams that could really, again, if those bats came around and got hot, like they were going to be a tough team to deal with. Yeah. I mean, it just didn't really work out that way. And man, that's sometimes how it goes in baseball. So. But now we're in this is the crappiest time of like any sport to me, the end of the season and then now you start to see a lot of player movement. We've even seen some coaching movement. We'll talk about that coaching movement here in a little bit. But as we look at this team and the roster changes that have already happened, and we'll talk a little bit about what we think may happen. in terms of guys coming in, or whether there's some of these freshman guys that are coming in the next class, whether they may be able to help out. But you've got your obvious guys who are out. You've got Carson Tenney, Aiden Robbins, Gumbo Duplantier, Ruger Riojas, Luke Harrison, Temo Becerra. Cody Howard's a guy I'm pretty sure is out of eligibility as well. Did some pitching late in the season and pitched really well. Those are the obvious guys. Like, they just don't have eligibility. Well, they're either they're really very highly regarded in the draft, or they're just completely out of eligibility. You got guys like and then you've got guys that are kind of like on the fence a little bit, like draft eligible type guys like Casey Borba, Ethan Mendoza, Connor McCreary, Hayden LaFew. They're in the draft year, so to speak. And I'm sure I've missed some, and again, I'm sure Zach and Mark, you guys will correct me, but those are the guys that I got off the top of my head. And then you've got the guys that are moving on. We've got pitchers like Cade Bean, Cooper Rummel was a freshman this year that I know, Zach, you were pretty high on out of high school. Jason Flores is a guy that's been a starter here at Texas in both years he's been here at Texas. Jaden Ferguson, I believe, is a freshman guy. Ethan Walker's a guy that is on the way out on that pitching staff. So a lot of guys, a lot of pieces on this team on the way out from a pitching perspective. And I think everybody knew. You've got Dylan Volantis coming back. He's going to be a starter. You've got a guy like Sam Kozart coming back. He's going to be a starter more than likely. We got to find a third starter, and there's been several guys, I think, that may, step up and fit into that role. But then the part that's really interesting is then you got to reload that bullpen again, because at least two of those guys are coming out of that bullpen more than likely. Zach, talk to us about just the pitching. Are there any guys in this freshman class coming in? Any targets that the coaching staff may have, and you may not have to name them by name, but are there guys we're trying to bring in that can maybe fill in that third starter role, or is that guy already on the staff? And then do we have some guys coming in that can step in and be like a Crossland this year, a Kozart this year, those types of roles where they came in and threw a lot of innings? You got man, I don't know why his name is escaping me. Right, Brody Walls was another guy. Was a freshman that ended up with a lot of innings down the stretch and really good innings. So, talk to us a little bit about that pitching, and where we might try to find those additional guys that we need for the bullpen so we can get those starting roles filled out.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be Dylan Volantis and Kozart leading your charge, right? There's no doubt about that. That'll be Friday, Saturday. You can write that in stone. And then very likely what you'll see is, I think Michael Winter will be the first guy to get the crack at that third spot. He's got the makeup. He has the stuff. He got sick in the middle of the season, and people kind of were like, oh, that's tough to come back from when you're ramped up, and then you got to shut it down, and then you just try to get it ramped back up, and that makes it really tough. But the staff loves his stuff. They love the makeup, mental, what he brings. So that to me is going to be your primary guy. I think you'll still see Crossland and Walls towards the back of the bullpen in terms of what they bring, the mental makeup, kind of the moxie that they have, and the stuff. And then from a freshman standpoint, I guess as a sophomore, a guy that we didn't get to see this season, but I think will be very heavily leaned upon next season is Jack McKernan. He's a lefty. He looked really, really good. He's probably a guy that if he's healthy, you probably don't ever see a Cal Higgins or a LaFew pitching. I mean, he's got that kind of stuff. 95 from the left side, and his breaking ball is unworldly good. So that's kind of your core group. And then from your freshmen, Max Wiener and the team have a whole lot of weapons. Now there's still the draft to kind of sift through. They may lose a couple of them, but a guy like Trey Rangel, who is up to 98, got to work on your command, certainly, but he's got some electric stuff. You got a guy like Cooper Webb, a local kid from Lake Travis. I've seen him a bunch this season. He'll make it to campus, and he's really good, right? And so you get guys like that. And then if you happen to land a guy like Cooper Harris, that's a guy that maybe he could come in and contend as a starting spot on that Sunday, right? Because in a perfect world, what you're wanting to stair step. And let's face it, next year is the last season Texas will see Cozart and Volantis on campus. They're both going to the 2027 draft. And so kind of getting those guys ready is going to be the next one. A couple others that I think could have an impact. A kid like Finn Beard out of Tennessee. He reminds me of a harder throwing Luke Harrison. He's got the makeup. He's got that kind of stuff. And Jack Smichael is another one that I, going to keep an eye on for sure. So yeah, there's some arm talent coming in. There's a lot of athleticism coming in as well. So that'll be exciting to see on the pitching side.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see a guy like Brody Walls. You mentioned at the top of the season this year, you said this kid Brody Walls, super raw, and he is.
Yep.
Like it's going to be interesting to see him go through another summer, go through a fall again. Really see if he can get dialed in and I don't mean this in a negative way, but like figure out how to pitch. Because right now he's a really hard thrower, and he's got some pretty nasty breaking stuff to come off of that fastball that's 96, 97 miles an hour. So you can get that guy tuned in, and man, I think like I said, he pitched some pretty high stress innings this year, late down the stretch in SEC play and into the tournament, and looked really, really good. So I'm excited to see what new faces come in, which guys we land. And this is always the weirdest part about college baseball, because you don't know. I mean, some of them you're not getting. What's the kid's name? Grady Emerson. Yeah, Grady Emerson's not coming to Texas, unfortunately. He's like the Gatorade greatest baseball player ever. I saw that on Twitter. I mean, he's like just a phenomenal talent. He's going to go in the first 2 or 3 picks in the MLB draft in a couple of weeks. But you got to go recruit those guys. And again, this is always the interesting thing about college baseball. You got to go recruit these guys because you never know. You don't want to be like standing there going, oh, shit, we didn't recruit him and he decided he wants to play college baseball. So, but realistically, you don't depend on, at least a handful of guys every year in your recruiting class. So who shows up, who takes the money, those are a lot of tough decisions these kids have to make. So it'll be interesting to see how we weed through all of that and then really get what do you think, Zach? Because the portal closes on the 30th, right? Like, so you can't enter the portal after the 30th. Can you still bring people in from the portal after the 30th?
You can bring people all the way in until basically the season. I mean, we saw Pendergrass. He joined the team late fall, or spring.
Yeah, and Dylan Volantis was a kid that same way, kind of came in really, really late in the cycle, his freshman year, right?
Yeah, because he had been drafted 19th round by in the MLB draft, and then he decommitted from USC, said he wasn't going to go there. He looked at Wake Forest and Texas, basically, were the 2 finalists, and chose Texas.
So we may not know exactly what the roster is going to actually look like for fall ball until those guys run out on the field and start doing some stuff as a team. So hopefully, Zach, I would love to have you back. Mark, I'd love to have you too to talk about some of that stuff throughout the summer and just see where we're at and what the team looks like and all that good stuff. Position guys, you got a guy like Maddox Monsoor, Andrew Ermis, Presley Corville, Callum Early, Will Hill's a guy we didn't see this year. We saw the prior 4 though a few times this year. Monsoor had a starting center field job locked down for a while as a freshman, and those are all guys that are gonna portal out. And again, man, Mark, what's your feeling on that? I know, Mark, you get really close to some of these families and some of these, even the coaches in some cases. So for like, it sucks. It sucks. Like every year you have to kind of go, man, who am I not going to be friends with next year for baseball season? And unfortunately that's kind of where we're sitting right now. Talk to us about that. And, I guess you just keep on keeping on, occupying left field, and the folks that come out, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah, and I'm just hoping, right, that most college baseball fans realize that there's more than meets the eye when you're talking about players leaving your team immediately after the season ends, right? Obviously, there's going to be a small group of guys that leave on their own, right? They're
Mhm.
looking for more playing time, or maybe there's a financial incentive for them to go to another school, right? I think those are the exceptions when you're the University of Texas. What you also need to consider is there's a handful of guys every year that just quite frankly don't have a spot on the next year's
Yeah.
team,
Yeah.
right? So I've seen some misinformed fans get pissed when somebody leaves, like, oh, why would that guy leave Texas? It wasn't his choice, right?
Right.
So just a lot in play. So you really just have to trust that the coaches know what they're doing. They know how to shuffle the deck. They know where they need stuff, where they need to invest their money for next year's team, and it's just a whole new world, man. Once the monetary component gets in there, it's a completely different game, right? And
Yeah.
you and I were talking earlier as we were waiting for the show to start. Man, there's not going to be any such thing as college baseball depth anymore, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to go into a season with a starting 9 that have 6 good backups that you're comfortable with, in the
Yeah.
outfield and the infield, and a backup catcher that you think can be a starter. That's just not going to happen anymore, man. Teams are going to be thin, they're going to be spread out, and you have to hit in the portal, which is what makes portal season so important. So anyway, man, the guys that are leaving, you wish them well. You obviously hope that they find success at their next program. But coaches, a lot of pressure on them. They got to reload pretty quickly because we're obviously missing quite a bit off of the 26 team. And you just think about how fortunate we were in this past season, right? Where would this team be without Aiden Robbins and without Carson Tenney, right? We talked about that quite a bit over the course of the season. So yeah, a lot of pressure, but you're the University of Texas, and you just got to think that the coaching staff's going to put it together, bring the right guys together. And like we saw with LSU, man, it's just not who you bring in. It's the culture that you're building.
Yeah.
You got to bring the right guys, right? You can't bring in me guys. They got to be guys that are going to mesh with the players that are returning, the guys that are there to win, not just to get playing time and make a name for themselves.
Yeah, and think about this. You talk about the culture. As a head coach today in college sports, like back, 10, 15 years ago, you had a culture and you recruited to that culture, right? But you recruited kids that you knew were going to stay on campus because they had to, right? Like you were going to have them as freshmen, you were going to have them as sophomores, depending on what sport you're talking about, junior, senior, whatever. You were going to have these kids for a few years, and you had kids in front of them that had been there and were really bought into that culture. It's not only, you gotta get guys that are physically good, but as you said, they've got to be able to buy right into that culture, and you got to rebuild that culture every single year because it's a fresh new crop of kids, and the team is just college football fans, college baseball fans are just going to have to get used to the fact that your team is going to look totally different from year to year. Oh, yeah. There's going to be almost no guys that are staying around for 2-3 years inside of this deal. And so yeah, it's and it's tough, man. It's tough to, you feel bad for the kids, but that's part of this business/sport these days. And honestly,
Sean, to close out, man, talking about the families and stuff that we get the opportunity to know, right?
Yeah.
I think when you talk about guys like Mendoza, Borba, right, that are draft eligible, but you really freaking need them back next year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
To plug some holes. You wish them well, man. Hey, if you get the opportunity to go high in the draft, then hell yeah, man. We'll cheer you on. But at the same time, you selfishly want a lot of those guys back too. So
sure,
it's a funny dynamic, and you just hope that you don't see guys leave early for low amount of money, right?
Yeah,
it's through the years in left field, Sean, I've had 5 or 6 ex-Texas players who went early in the draft, told me it was one of the worst decisions they've ever made, and they regretted it the rest of their life. That they passed up one more season at UT, and they were out of pro ball in 3 years.
Yeah.
So
I think that is the tough part about these decisions for these guys, because in their mind, they're good enough to be pro baseball players, right? And the statistics just say, you know, some of those guys aren't going to be good enough, or they're going to run into injuries, or, you know, there's just a host of things that can happen that can derail that career for you. Sometimes it's just, hey, there's a better guy. It's not even that you did anything wrong or you did get hurt. Like, sometimes there's just better players. And so that's got to be tough for those guys. It's like, you know, we talk about Borba, we talk about Mendoza. Those are guys that are draft eligible. They may or may not get drafted. They may not get drafted highly. There may be opportunities if they don't for free agent type stuff, you know, like getting invites to camps, those types of things. What do you do? Like, you don't want to be wrong. And then there's this whole stigma against older baseball players that sometimes comes out, like, oh, you know, he's a senior. Like, we're not gonna waste a draft pick on that guy. Man, it's just a lot for these kids to have to navigate and their families to have to navigate. So as you said, we wish those guys well, and hope for Texas's sake that we see a Borba back, we see a Mendoza back. You know, man, we've talked about Borba all season long about the defense, man. He's just been absolutely phenomenal wherever they've stuck him in the infield. And I mean, you just don't easily go out and replace that. I don't think. Like, that's,
if you're lucky enough to get a Casey Borba back, it's like getting two players back, man. Like, we talked about how I thought he was our best third baseman and first baseman on the team.
Yeah, 100%.
Talk about not having depth, right? Having a guy that can play two positions is huge. I think you can kind of say the same thing about Ashton Larson, right? You pray and hope that he's back next year. He can play the outfield. He showed he can play first base.
Yeah.
You know, the more guys that you have that can play different positions, the better. So,
yeah. So we talked about the guys that are, you know, the guys that are for sure out. We talked about the guys that have decisions. Let's talk a little bit about the ones coming in, the guys that we have picked in the transfer portal. The first one was Lincoln Garcia, and I believe this was back during regional weekend when all this broke, or like right before regional weekend. The shortstop out of Texas Tech, and this is a really good player. I had never heard of him until and I don't follow Texas Tech baseball one single cent, so I just never heard of him. He's a 2027 really highly thought of shortstop prospect. And he's a big kid, 6'5", 220 pounds, I believe. Pretty big bat. Kid out of California, right, Zach?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is a kid that's he's right under A-Rod on the last 2027 shortstop projection. Like, he's like the 6th one or 7th one in the draft right now for the 2027 class. So pretty big pickup. And I think it's a guy that you look at and say he could play third base. You could probably even move him to second base, right? I mean, I don't know what it's like. I'm assuming if you can play shortstop, you can play second base. And that's not a diss at second base. That's the little league in me. Like, we had kids that could play both. One of them played second base, right? Like, I would assume it's somewhat similar in college baseball, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, what I'm saying is he's probably pretty versatile on the infield. Thoughts on Lincoln Garcia? How does that bat play? Where do you think we see him end up on the field?
Yeah, I think from a comp standpoint, there's a lot of comparables to what Aiden Robbins was his last year at Seton Hall. A guy that has a high batting average, a guy that doesn't hit for a lot of power right now, but has that ability in him, especially with that kind of frame and the extension he can get. I mean, he hit 338 over 55 games. He only had 4 home runs, but he had 59 RBIs and 19 walks against 37 strikeouts is pretty good ratio in today's college game, especially for a team like Texas Tech, where they're facing some decent college pitching in the Big 12. But yeah, I think that their comp is last year's Aiden Robbins. And I'm saying when he was at Seton Hall, the goal for him will be come in and change that bat path a little bit so he gets a little more air underneath the ball, and that 4 home runs turns into 10 or 12 or 15 home runs. And then as far as playing position, you got to think he's going to start at third base. That will be a hell of a battle in the fall, because Casey Borba is going to be, if he's back, is going to be very motivated to go win that game or that position back. But again, the consistency and the versatility is going to be, okay, if Borba's the best third baseman, where can we put Garcia? Or, hey, maybe we want to put someone at first base because that just gives us the best lineup. So,
Right.
again, all of that depends on Casey Borba being back. I personally think he'll be back, but obviously there's a lot of conversations going on across the nation. I mean, you've got the MLB Combine started today, is going on for the next couple of days. One of the signees is taking part first thing in the morning. So be interested to see some of his exit velos, because I saw some of them today and the ball's being hit pretty well. So
Did I see
I think Garcia was
today?
Yeah, there was a 117 and a 118, bunch of 113s. I think it was Barry Bonds's family member. Nephew or something like that was absolutely tearing the shit out of the ball. Peyton. I mean, there were some fun BPs to watch. Shout out to former Longhorn D. Kennedy. Started out real slow, but picked it up and looked nice in the cage. So, but yeah, that was a big pickup, and he's a top 20. Yeah. So top 45 ranked in the 64 analytics. So anytime you get that kind of talent with that kind of upside, obviously Tulo is a huge selling point, right? If you're a tall middle infielder, who do you want to learn from? The guy that did it for that long at that level. So yeah, no doubt that he's a solid pickup.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I believe number 2 for us coming in was Ian Armstrong, the catcher, St. Mary's. And he's a big bat. Like, he's a 16 homer guy, right?
Yeah, hit 16 home runs. Really big bat. The thing that was really impressive for me was St. Mary's started off a little slow in the season and then caught fire. And obviously they're the ones that were out there in UCLA. But 16 home runs, hit 351, 51 RBIs in 58 games. The concern is, well, what do you compare him to Tinney, right? We've seen Tinney, we've seen Galvan. He's a semifinalist for the Buster Posey. Like, this guy is one of those guys that's really, really good. And defensively, he probably doesn't have the strongest arm out of the pool of catchers next year. I'm talking nationally, but he's very good at framing, very good at receiving. He does a really good job of behind the plate. So he'll be able to manage that staff. And that's what you count on, right? Schlossengel says center fielder, shortstop, catcher. Those are the 3 guys you have to be elite at. Once again, Texas has another elite player back there.
Yeah, and then this next guy is really interesting to me. Sawyer Solitaria, and I think I pronounced that correctly.
Yep.
Outfielder from Kent State. He's another 16 home run guy, right?
Yeah.
And he's a big kid, 6'5", 220 something pound. Like, he's not your prototypical college outfielder, I guess. It almost makes me wonder, how does this kid wind up at Kent State? It's just baseball. There's a lot of players, and some people develop later than others. And but a big body, a big bat last year at Kent. And then let's be real. The competition at Kent State probably not anywhere like what he's going to face here at Texas. But I think certainly the potential is there. The body is there. Talk to us a little bit about him, and where do you see him as a? I mean, I think Pac's going to move to center field next year. That's just my uninformed opinion.
Pac will move to center field, and you'll see him probably in left field. Right field's so tough at the dish. You got to put your plus athlete out there. And so, yeah, the thing is that people say, oh, Kent State, boo-hoo. This is a kid. Go look at his numbers against Tennessee when Kent State won that series, and go look at his numbers against LSU. This is a kid that you see oftentimes end up at a place like Arkansas, and they come out of nowhere, and you're like, holy shit, who is this small school kid that's hitting 20 home runs and just bashing?
Yeah.
He's got to improve the strikeout rate. He certainly has some swing and miss, but with that kind of power and that kind of physicality, this is what you want to see from Texas in the SEC. This is the winning. This is a kid that goes to a place like OU, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, he's a national champion. Like, right. Yeah. This is what you need to see from the roster. So the other great thing about him is he's a freshman. He's young, right? So he's got time to develop. He's got time to remake his body, get strong, work with Tulo. So really like this pickup. He's really highly thought of. Go look at his rankings at Baseball America. He's like top 15 in the nation. People are really excited about his trajectory.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think anytime you see some of the stat lines that these guys are bringing in, you have to be excited about what they've actually done. I don't care where it's at.
Yeah.
And then the potential for them to do the same and possibly even get better, here at Texas. So not a ton of numbers right off the bat. And we probably missed some guys that I think the fan base was like, oh, I would love to have that guy. You talk about the catcher out of Clemson that winds up at Texas A&M. I think that's a guy that a lot of Texas fans were pretty excited that we might pull down. But I'm three pretty strong right off the bat guys. And then I know there's been other visits and things like. How many more guys do you think? And I know there's a ton of variables with this. There's like it's impossible to predict, but I'm going to ask you to predict it. How many more guys do you think we pull out of the portal? Well, just based on what you know right now.
There's a pair of guys visiting this week. So we were in a recruiting dead period from Saturday
over the weekend,
or Friday night to yesterday night. But a pair of guys are visiting this week. I think Texas has a really good chance with both of them. They're in positions of need. And then overall, I still think Texas probably ends up with another 2 to 4 guys, based on what's available. There's still, again, a lot of politicking going on around how are you doing with the MLB Combine? What is the information you're continuing to get back from the scouts, from the GMs? Right. There's still a lot of private workouts going on nationwide with some of these kids. And so as you come out of this week, you have like 4 or 5 more days. And I think that's probably next week you'll start to see this class of transfers kind of round out, just going into the end. Just sometimes you have to hedge your bets, man. And there's still the possibility they could add a late flyer like they did with Darian, where he's a graduate transfer and you're either waiting on grades or you're waiting on eligibility. The new rule just got passed, so a lot of juniors actually have another year now,
right?
Which is big. So yeah, but I still think 2 to 4 is probably the number of guys that they end up still bringing in at this point.
So we're looking at. Go ahead, Mark.
John, Zach, I was going to ask, after last year where we signed a couple guys and then they ended up going in the draft, are we doing our part to just kind of eliminate that use case, or has anything changed from that perspective in terms of signing portal guys that are draft eligible?
Yeah, there's been a couple of guys that have shown interest. They brought in and they couldn't commit. And they're like, no, I'm going to run the process through. And it's like, okay, great. Like, we got to move on. We can't be in a position that we were last year where we had 2 guys that were heavily counted on for the outfield. And then they signed for, let's call it peanuts. I mean, they really signed for way under slot and way under value for where they were drafted and what they could have been getting. So yeah, there was conversations amongst the staff about how do we prevent that. There was conversations with the kids being up front, like, this is what we expect of you. So yeah.
Gotcha.
Cool. Let's get to we had a ton of questions today and we haven't got to a single one of them because they were all kind of about this next year's team and about the coaching situation. So we'll start firing some questions real quick. Here we go. Do you think this team will be better offensively, Zach? Losing Robbins and Tenney, obviously a pretty big deal with the home runs that they hit this year. What are your, like, so just based off the 3 guys we have, and let's say for the sake of argument, that a Borba and a Mendoza do decide to come back. So we've got our second baseman, we've got our Borba, whether he's first or third, however that plays out, we've got those guys as pieces. Is there an opportunity for this offense to be even better this year than it was last year? Which again, we thought was a big improvement over the year before.
I think from a power perspective, no. Simply what Aiden Robbins did hitting 24 home runs and what Tenney did hitting the 22 or 23 home runs, like, you're probably not replacing that pure velocity of home runs. Now, is A-Rod going to be healthier and be able to hit 15? Probably so, right? Is Lincoln Garcia going to make a jump from 4 to 10? I could absolutely see that. So as you see some of these guys, and then they get 2 of these freshmen that I think they have a good chance of getting, allowing them to be DH and, probably hit for more power than any freshman we've seen in quite some time. Yeah, I think from a depth perspective and what we call like lineup length, yeah, especially if they get a couple of these 2 players that I think they have really targeted and zeroed in on in the portal. If they land one or both of those, that's a deep lineup all of a sudden, very deep.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those. Fred, we talked a little bit about the pitching side. Let's talk about some of those guys that are coming in on that freshman class that might have an opportunity to fit in somehow, somewhere in the lineup. Who give us some names?
Yeah, I think the top two names that everyone should be, looking at in the top of the draft is going to be Bo Peterson, the third baseman out of Kansas. He's got elite bat to ball skills. He can hit for power, maybe not as much power as people thought he would this year. There's a chance he makes it to campus. And if he does, that's the kind of kid that you build your cornerstone of your infield around going forward. The other kid that I think Texas has a really good chance of getting in is the kid from Corsicana, Easton Autry. You talk about exit velos. He had a private workout with a team I'll leave unnamed, and some of his wood bat exit velos were 113.
Jeez.
Now you translate that to a metal bat against college kids, and I mean, Carson Tenney hit the ball hard. This kid hits the ball harder.
Yeah, and he's a big kid. I saw him regional weekend. He is an impressive for a kid that's not even in college yet. He is a big bodied guy.
I had a couple of people ask me who's the transfer portal visitor, and I'm like, that's
I asked you that. I asked you that. It was me.
The thing that was most impressive too, and I've got to talk to him a lot, and I've got to talk to his dad a lot, who's longtime head coach, but he understands the magic of Texas and what it means to play there, but also what it means to succeed. And he's like, I want the playbook. I want the workout book. I want to know what workouts I need to do now so I can come in and see. I want to be the next Pack. I want to be the next freshman that's, driving this team. And so, again, he's another kid that you bring in. He's versatile, right? He could play first base. He could play third base. He's a kid that you build your offense around for a couple years. So both of those kids, there's a kid named James Jorgensen. He's a two-way player, so it remains to be seen where he's going to land pitching-wise or fielding-wise. He's one of my favorite recruits in the entire, very similar to what Jared Thomas was in his class, very similar to what I'm blanking on his name now from last season, Brody Walls was in his class. James Jorgensen is that kid this year. Having watched a lot of his game, again, it remains to be seen how it translates because he's coming from a small private school, but super athletic, just is a competitor. So he has the chance to play early on either side of the ball. And then they're bringing a pair of catchers that both of them are really good in their own right. Brady Murrieta has been on the USA team. He's won a gold medal for them. He has been a standout catcher in California for not just a couple years, but his entire career since he was 12 years old. Really good advanced defensively. And then on the other hand, Jax Robinson, who comes from Waxahachie, where Jared Thomas is from, has offensive explosion this year. And he's a really good catcher and another big body that, maybe he's a guy that sits at first base while Murrieta's at catcher and they just flip-flop because, again, they have that kind of talent. So, yeah, there's some big guys. A kid in the outfield to watch, maybe Pack, is Trent Maben, son of former big leader Cameron Maben, super rangy, athletic, ultra defensive. I think it remains to be seen what the bat looks like, but he's got the tools and he's got the stuff. And then another kid is Lawson Behan from down in Houston. Kid plays shortstop in high school. I think he's maybe more of a second baseman. This kid can hit. And he started hitting and took off about 2 summers ago. Hasn't stopped. I mean, you watch him and he just rakes every single freaking time. He's really impressive to watch. And so, yeah, they're bringing in what, you talked about earlier, depth. This is where you build depth. Is the layering of talent like this is pretty impressive. So,
yeah, you kind of got to bring in as much of that as you can out of your high school classes and with little pieces out of the portal and see which ones work out because they're not all going to, right? That's just the nature of the game. To me, it's the whole back in back in the day when Nick Saban was convincing 5-stars to be second and third stringers for 2 years. The more you can layer in the talent across different classes, just the better the outcome it can be on the other end. And I think that's what we're starting to see. You're going to see it all across baseball with the successful programs. And we're starting to see Sloss really layer that in now just in year 2 or just after year 2. So pretty exciting to hear some of the names that might wind up on campus, because I've been following your Twitter for a while and seeing some of those guys, and man, some of those guys can mash baseballs. So it'll be really interesting to see how all that plays out for the rest of the summer. So stay with us for that. We'll talk about it as much as we can once the draft happens and we kind of can get all that sorted out. The next big sort of change, Nolan Cain, just kind of like out of the blue. Nolan Cain's back to Texas A&M, and man, I know as soon as that happened, we're all texting each other and we're like, what is going on? And whatever. And then we've kind of been talking about, so who are some names? And Zach, I don't know how much you can talk about names, but we got a question. Like, who are some of the guys that you think we might be going after? Who are some of those names out there in college baseball that Schloss may be looking at to bring in to replace a Nolan Cain?
Yeah, I think first you start off, there's actually 2 positions to fill this offseason. So Chuck Box, longtime right-hand man of Schlossnagle, is headed back to high school in Mississippi to take over one of the premier high school programs at JA. Very possibly his replacement is already near Austin, and it's kind of been filled. We're wait to see what that looks like and shakes out to be, but heard a lot of positive vibes there. And then from as far as Cain goes, don't necessarily want to put any names out there, but suffice it to say they've got a couple of folks lined up this week to talk to more in depth. And I think by the end of next week, you'll probably see an announcement go official. The timing of it, not great, obviously, with the CWS
right.
immediately ending, having to get to portal work, and then the portal's not closed yet. But, I've told this to a couple of people, and we've talked about this before, I think, but if you look at Schlossnagle's coaching tree, it's kind of absurd, right? Like Tony Vitello, Matt Locke, on down the line. Like he's got, I think, 9 guys that are now head coaches.
Right.
And the one thing that if you say, what is your superpower? Schlossnagle's superpower, other than winning a series, is bringing in elite assistants. And so there's no shortage of guys that want to work at Texas. Obviously, there's no shortage of guys that want to work for Schlossnagle. And so I think at the end of the day, while losing Cain hurts from a recruiting perspective because he knew every single agent, I mean, his connections in the industry are unparalleled. Texas might actually be in a better spot from a coaching and development standpoint than they were before, which is saying something. So
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the timing of it was why it caught so many Texas fans off guard, and why so many people were kind of like, this is a shit show. What's going on? Because the timing was not great at all. Like it couldn't have been worse, honestly. And as you mentioned, Cain is one of those dudes that has a lot of connections. Like he knows a lot of people. That's kind of been like his calling card is I can get guys to come to school, and we can get a lot of good baseball players in here. And so to lose that, and then I think, there's the whole, probably nobody will want to admit it, but there's the whole sting of like losing your guy to Texas A&M. That's never fun. But I think the sun came up again, and I think we're gonna find, like you said, Zach, I think we're gonna find some guys that'll come in here and maybe put us in a better position from a like hands-on perspective, like a hands-on with players perspective.
Yeah.
And again, not that Cain probably didn't do some of those things and probably wasn't good at some of those things, but again, he was the recruiter. Like that was his deal. So yeah, lots of change. And man, I think this is probably weirder in baseball than any other sport, because you have the draft piece that you kind of have to navigate as well, that the other sports don't have. Bear with everyone. Bear with Coach Sloss. He's going to get you a good bunch of kids and some coaches that can play some baseball. real quick, while we just mentioned draft, if you guys got to bounce, I understand. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this Major League draft proposal that came out at, I guess, like midweek last week, which let's all agree, I think has probably got maybe a 2% chance of actually happening. But it's really interesting, and it could have, if it passed, if it went through, would have some pretty strong ramifications for college baseball. MLB says we don't want to draft American high school players anymore, but we want to be able to draft them after 2 years of college. Like, think of some of the names that would have wound up on college campuses and how much fun that would be to watch some of those guys. I personally think it's awesome because I'm a huge college baseball fan. I've seen a lot of proponents say, college, you see a lot of the ex-pro guys on Twitter. College baseball doesn't care about developing. And there's probably a discussion to be had about that. We don't have to get into that, but just like, what are y'all's thoughts on the surface of that as a college baseball fan? And then maybe Zach, am I too high on my 2%? I don't know. Mark, we'll start with you. I know we were talking about it and you're like, what the hell, man? This is already more complicated than I want to know. Like, but like, how cool would that be? How cool would it be to have a guy like Grady Emerson show up at the University of Texas and play for 2 years?
Zach, let's let you go first. Like, is there a likelihood that anything like that would ever pass?
Likelihood, I'd say less than 20%, right? Like, the reality is it probably isn't going to happen where they remove the ability for any high school kid to enter the draft.
Yeah.
You have to remember, oftentimes when you see these proposals, these are proposals from what Major League is wanting to do to make leverage with the CBA, or as they're negotiating the CBA with the players and the owners. I think the thing that no one talked about was they want to reduce the slot from like 300 million to 200. They want to cut $100 million out.
Yeah. In 8 rounds, 8 rounds of the draft gone.
And so, there's a lot of nuance to this. I think what will end up happening is a couple of things. One, I could see them allowing high school kids still, but maybe they move the 3-year to 2-year, right? Like some variation thereof. But I think they'll still let high school, like there's some kids that they're not going to want to give up 3 years or 2 years of some of these kids in college. They just aren't. Like some of these first round draft picks, they don't want them to sit around and wait. They want them to get ready in 3 years to be called up to the pros.
Yeah.
Now the counter argument to that is you go play in the SEC and you've got guys hitting the pros before the next draft class is even coming around. Like the path to MLB right now is you go to college for 2 to 3 years. I absolutely think they're going to move the draft down in rounds from 20 to somewhere between 10 and 15. I'm all for it. There is no reason that they should be taking some of these kids and giving them $50,000 and saying, start your pro career. By the way, you're going to spend 8 years in minor, like A and AA ball, making no money at all. And then you're going to flame out like that. That doesn't help anyone. Right. And so get minor league baseball to what it should be, which is a development league to prepare you for the rigor of being the pros.
But then if you look at it from the opposite end, right? If you have these guys forced to come to college, what does the money whipping look like for some of those top end guys? And then it just ends up being a bidding war for all of these high school guys, right? Which I don't think the money game is sustainable in college athletics right now.
Yeah.
And I think if you add in that component from college baseball, it just makes it that much more difficult. But
and that's why I don't think they'll let the high school kids not go join the draft. Like,
yeah,
you're telling me that Grady Emerson's going to make it to Texas, probably get paid a couple hundred, between $300,000 and $600,000 instead of making $10 million signing bonus. Like, it's not just the players that are going to be revolting. There's the agents, there's the GMs, like there's a whole ecosystem of people that are saying, nah, that ain't happening. So
yeah, I mean, even the ex-players hate it. They absolutely hate it. Like, I mean, like more than they hate anything ever. Like they hate that. I think the other interesting part of the proposal, and this is, I think, what gets a lot of those ex guys, they're talking about having an international draft where they will draft high school players.
Yep.
Or 16-year, whatever the age is.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you I'm sorry, I got like this fly that will not leave me alone. I don't know where he came from. I swear, I smell good. I swear to God. But anyway, you've got like this whole, well, why are you going to let the international players come in, but you're going to keep your own American players, out from high school? So, yeah, I love the idea in principle. There's a lot of like detail probably to work out as far as all that goes, but I agree with you, Zach. I think it's just a sort of an outlandish starting point for the league, so they can actually get what they want out of the CBA.
Yeah.
So ultimately, what just happened is I got super excited, and it's never going to happen, is what I think. I've been wrong before, but
you'll see a much pared down version of what the initial proposal is.
Yeah,
and everyone keeps talking about like this is very likely this could be a strike year. Right, you get to December because it's renewed in December. The CBA, the indications are the two sides are pretty far apart. So by getting this message out now, again, this is Major League Baseball way of saying, hey, we're going to start driving public perception of it's all about the Benjamins away from you, so that you can't use that excuse and you have to come to the table and allow us to reduce the draft, allow us to put some money caps in there, allow us to really take advantage of what that international draft is. So yeah, it's certainly not finalized at all by any stretch of the means. It's all a negotiation in the boardroom.
Yeah. It's I think it's the ridiculous ask that, is never going to happen. So you can actually get what you want through negotiation.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it all plays out. Man, I think that's the show for tonight, folks. Thanks for being with us. Zach, Mark, thanks for being with me. I don't know the timing of the draft right off the top of my head, but we will definitely be back after the draft to kind of, and maybe even before. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll have some more shows this summer where we talk about this baseball team. I'm not ready to shut it down yet. My wife asked me today, are you sad because it's done? I said, it ain't done. We got all the draft to talk about. We got like the building of this
July
roster.
11th.
Yeah, we're never dying here. We're gonna keep talking about baseball. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you joining us tonight. Everybody that chimed in, asked questions. I hope we answered all of them. I tried. A lot of them came in early that were stuff we were going to talk about later. So if I missed you, I apologize. And again, one last time, thanks to the 2026 Texas Longhorns staff, players, families. Was a hell of a ride. Man, had a really good time this year watching baseball. I'm looking forward to next year. And we're going to Arlington. I'm excited about that. I already booked my hotel next February. It's going to be a good lineup. We'll talk about that at some point too. Guys, have a good night. Follow these guys on Twitter. Thanks, everybody. Hook 'em.